Hello and welcome to Granada Reports, live with the latest across the northwest.
Hello, thanks for joining us. On the programme this evening.
Police reveal they're treating Nicola Bulley as high risk and vulnerable as the search enters a 20th day. There's also a call for online rumours and conspiracy theories over her disappearance to stop.
In 29 years police service, I've never seen anything like it. Some of it's been quite shocking and really hurtful to the family.
Two teenagers appear in court charged with the murder of 16-year-old Brianna Ghey, who was stabbed to death in a Cheshire village.
The road veers to the right. That is actually the road surface. It's now probably 20 foot below us.
How shifting sands have cut off a much-loved caravan park on the Formby coast and why the National Trust aren't allowed to help.
He's the man who wrestled Liverpool away from unpopular owners. Now, in an exclusive interview, Sir Martin Broughton tells us overseas billionaires don't want clubs in the north of England.
And in the weather, the sun rose on a bit of a mixed day today, but a few of us did manage to find some sunny spells. How's it looking into the weekend, though? All the details coming up.
Well, first tonight, police in Lancashire have moved to quash rumours about the disappearance of Nicola Bulley, who's been treated as a high-risk missing person with specific vulnerabilities.
In an unusual move, police have now revealed she had issues with alcohol and had been struggling with the menopause. The detective leading the search for Nicola was addressing the extraordinary amount of online speculation and conspiracy theories. She said in almost 30 years as a police officer, she has never seen anything like it.
Well, once again, police claim there is still no evidence of any criminal aspect to the case. It is now 19 days since the 45-year-old went missing. Lifestyle reporter Andrew Fletcher, who's in St Michael's on wire. And Andrew, police have released even more information in the last hour.
Yes, Gamal, and significant information from Lancashire Police. Earlier today, at the press conference they held to update the press on their investigation, they spoke about specific vulnerabilities, which meant that the search for Nicola was classed as high risk from the start, but they wouldn't then say what those vulnerabilities were in order to protect the family's privacy. Well, in the last hour, they've issued a press release in which they've given details of those vulnerabilities. They say, sadly, it's clear from speaking to Paul and the family that Nicola had in the past suffered with some significant issues with alcohol, which were brought on by her ongoing struggles with the menopause, and that these struggles had resurfaced over recent months. And they say that as a result of these issues, a response car with police and health professionals had attended a report of concern for welfare at Nicola's address on the 10th of January. Now, no one was arrested as a result of that call, but it is being investigated. But that does explain why the police treated this as a high-risk search from the start. As I say, they didn't give any details about this particular aspect of the search in the press conference this morning, but what they did talk about was the extent to which they are searching in the river and on the land and by air as they try and find Nicola, who, as you say, has now been missing for 19 days. And they responded to criticism and online speculation about the investigation, an investigation which they made clear is still very much ongoing. 19 days since Nicola Bulley disappeared, the search for her continues at what Lancashire Police say is an unprecedented scale. Yet still there is no sign of the missing mother of two, and still the police face criticism of their investigation. In a 37-minute news conference this lunchtime, they set out the details of that investigation, giving more information than they normally would in an attempt to counter the ill-informed speculation, which they say has been a distraction.
The investigations involved a dedicated team of more than 40 detectives. They've been looking through hundreds of hours of CCTV, dashcam footage, speaking to numerous witnesses, carrying out digital inquiries and examining literally hundreds of pieces of information submitted by the public.
And in all that evidence, there has been nothing to suggest any crime in relation to Nicola's disappearance. The senior investigating officer on the case said their belief that Nicola had gone into the river is continuously being reviewed, but remains their working hypothesis.
Whilst other people may speculate and spread rumours, There is no evidence whatsoever or information, and there has been a vast amount reviewed, I can assure you, in the last almost 3 weeks to suggest any third-party involvement or Nicola leaving that field.
Those rumours spread on social media were rebutted by the detectives. A derelict house over the river has been searched 3 times. A red van reported in the area is not being treated as suspicious, and a glove found by influencers at the scene is not Nicola's. There was criticism for the TikTokers playing private detective who have significantly distracted the investigation.
In 29 years police service, I've never seen anything like it. Some of it's been quite shocking and really hurtful to the family. Obviously, we can't disregard anything, and we've reviewed everything that's come in, but of course it has distracted us significantly. I can assure you that this investigation has been thoroughly investigated, no differently than any other major investigation from the outset, and that my absolute priority is to do everything we can to provide the answers to Nicola's 2 daughters who need to know where their mummy is.
As their search continues into a 20th day, police say they share the hope of Nicola's family and friends that she will be found alive. Andrew Fletcher, ITV News in St Michael's-on-Wye.
Well, for more on the points addressed by the police today and the very latest on the search for Nicola, you can head to our website, itv.com/Granada.
Well, next, 2 teenagers have been remanded in custody after being charged with the murder of 16-year-old Brianna Ghey.
Brianna, who was transgender, was attacked at Colchester Linear Park near Warrington at the weekend.
Tonight, more vigils are taking place across the country, including in Manchester.
Live now to Colchester to join our reporter Claire Hanna. Claire.
Well, the appearance this morning at Chester Magistrates Court was very brief for these 2 15-year-olds, a boy and a girl. They were brought into the dock separately. Each set of parents was in court. The boy's dad waved at his son briefly, while the parents of the girl were visibly upset with her mum sobbing. Now, the pair, when they appeared in court, spoke only to confirm their names, their ages and addresses. And when the judge explained that the charge of murder was too serious to be dealt with by the magistrates and they'd have to go to Crown Court, both of them nodded. They have been remanded into youth custody and will appear at Liverpool Crown Court tomorrow morning.
So, Claire, lots of tributes coming in and lots more on the way.
Yeah, ever since Brianna was found stabbed to death in Colchester Linear Park, many tributes have been paid. Her family called her beautiful, strong, fearless and one of a kind. And at the scene here, people have been coming throughout the day to lay more flowers at the gates. It's not just people in Warrington affected, though. Brianna was transgender, so the LGBTQ+ community has arranged vigils up and down the country. Last night, around about 1,000 people gathered on St George's Plateau in Liverpool for a vigil there. And tonight there'll be a candlelit vigil in Manchester. We spoke to one of the organisers earlier.
It's really important for the community to come together on this, the LGBT community in particular and the transgender community, to show support and solidarity for young trans people in particular and all trans people, and also young people who aren't trans people.
So that vigil due to take place in Manchester in the next hour, but also to stress this yet again, Cheshire Police and the CPS both issuing guidance, particularly in the light of this 15-year-old girl and boy being charged with Brianna's murder. They say it's important that nobody posts anything online which could prejudice legal proceedings, as this case is now active.
Well, thank you.
In other news today, and a nurse accused of murdering babies was texting about her win on the Grand National after it's alleged she attempted to kill twin boys. The prosecution claimed Lucy Letby had injected air into baby M and tried to poison his brother with insulin. The twins' parents described the distress at seeing their day-old baby boy being resuscitated. The nurse denies the charges.
Police on Merseyside have extended a dispersal order after violence broke out outside a hotel housing asylum seekers in Knowsley. 15 arrests were made after disorder broke out last Friday outside the Suites Hotel, which led to a police van being set alight. An order to limit people gathering without good reason in the area nearby will now continue through to Friday lunchtime.
Next, the group of caravan owners being forced to leave their much-loved site on one of the most beautiful parts of the Merseyside coastline.
Yeah, this is the Freshfield Caravan Park, which has been part of the stunning landscape in Formby for decades. Not surprisingly, it is a much-loved holiday destination.
But the caravanners haven't been able to drive in because the access road is blocked, and the National Trust who own the land say they're not allowed to clear it.
Victoria Grimes has the story.
It's a place usually alive with the sounds of caravanners enjoying their piece of paradise. Today, there's only silence. Access is almost impossible.
This is where we would be just driving.
Jack's had a caravan on the site for 17 years.
The road veers to the right. That is actually the road surface. It's now probably 20 foot below us. So now we're not stood on a road, we're stood on a hill. We're not asking to redesign the sand dunes. All we want is the access road opening.
OK, Vicky, prepare for a roller coaster ride?
Warden Terry lives on the site year-round. His family are the only ones with permission to use an alternative route through the pine woods.
What do people say when they see you driving down here?
Well, it's my only route into where I live. People are gobsmacked then.
But this route too is at the mercy of the dunes.
This dune here is right across the road.
So you're literally having to off-road it.
Ooh!
I see what you mean about a roller coaster.
Because I need a bit of momentum. I've been struck a few times. I've had to dig myself out, you know what I mean?
How long does it take you to dig yourself out?
About 2 hours. If an ambulance had to get here, you've got no chance.
The dunes at Formby have been shifting for thousands of years. It's what makes this coastline so special. Their sands are home to many endangered species. It's been ruled a special area of conservation. And that's why Natural England and the National Trust say the road can't be cleared.
We're not allowed by the regulator to move this sand or clear the sand. It has to be allowed to move naturally. And the regulator is Natural England, and we've worked with them. It would be a criminal act to clear that. So that option is not available to us anymore. Another option might be an alternative access track, and we've looked at options. But again, talking to Natural England and talking to regulators and ecologists, that is also not possible. We've been aware of these risks for a long time and have talked to the directors about them. We've considered all the options. As I say, if somebody were to come up with one, we would consider it. We have open minds. But we really wouldn't be doing this lightly. We're aware of how the caravan owners must feel.
Diane's one of those owners. She's been coming here since the 60s.
I had the best childhood ever here. And when I got married and had 3 children, I wanted them to have the same childhood, playing with the friends on the site and in the woods on the beach. Now we've got grandchildren. I wanted them to have the same childhood. It's very hard that now it's all going to be taken away from us. After so long, 3 generations.
For Leela, it's a place full of memories with her late husband, Jeff. Diagnosed with cancer, it was his dying wish to come back one more time, but he was unable to make that final visit.
This was really his happy place, and it would have been absolutely wonderful to be able to come here. But his mobility was such that there's no way he could have walked through the woods.
How difficult is it for you that you weren't able to bring your husband here?
That really caused me a lot of grief. It was very, very sad because I knew what it would have meant to him, and I knew what it would have meant to our relationship in those last months. You know, it didn't seem too much to ask to be able to just come here.
Those who love this place say they won't give up the fight to save their little piece of heaven. Victoria Grimes, ITV News, Formby.
Yeah, some wonderful memories there, and we couldn't have seen it on a better day. Fantastic blue skies there. OK, let's take a look now at what's coming up on the ITV News at 6:30 with Mary.
Coming up in the programme, Nicola Sturgeon steps down as Scotland's First Minister.
There is a much greater intensity, dare I say it, brutality to life as a politician than in years gone by.
We will be reflecting on Nicola Sturgeon's career and asking what next for the SNP and Scottish independence. We'll have the very latest as police give an update in their investigation into the disappearance of Nicola Bulley. And could Wales's rugby players be going on strike? Do join me for those stories and more at 6:30.
Well, next tonight to an exclusive interview with the former chairman of Liverpool Football Club. Mike is here. Hello. So he hasn't ruled out a potential takeover.
Yeah, that's right. His appearance at Anfield on Monday for the Merseyside derby certainly got Liverpool fans talking. Sir Martin Broughton has told me he has held conversations with investors about a possible takeover of Liverpool Football Club, but he says many of the overseas billionaires that he's been speaking to have no interest at all in owning a football club in the north of England, can you believe? And he's actually warned Manchester United's owners, the Glazer family, that they are highly unlikely to get anything close to their £6 billion asking price. Now, you may well remember Sir Martin. Liverpool fans certainly do. In 2010, he was brought in as chairman during one of the most turbulent periods in the club's history. His job was to sell the club, and he ended up in a high court battle with American owners George Gillette and Tom Hicks before finally getting the sale through to Fenway Sports Group. He emerged from that a hero, and that is where we began our conversation.
It's staggering, really. You know, I'd never seen myself as being the hero. I always felt that, you know, the chairman's a grey suit. You know, all fans know the players, they know the manager, but the chairman's a grey suit. It never occurred to me that it would finish up being a sort of week-long news real drama, me finishing up seen as a hero. That was never in my spectrum of expectations at all. I was CEO of a major multinational tobacco company for 11 years. I was chairman of British Airways for the same amount of time or more, and I was chairman of Liverpool for 8 months. But I think when I'm gone, it's the Liverpool one I should be remembered for.
You sold to John Henry and Tom Werner, and we've all seen the incredible success that Liverpool have enjoyed since. Finally winning the Premier League, winning another Champions League, and that must give you a huge sense of satisfaction, I would imagine.
It does, because you think you've got the right people, you don't actually know for certain you've got the right people, and to see business people who absolutely make promises and deliver on those promises, that's good.
Liverpool have enjoyed so much success under Jurgen Klopp, but this season has been a disappointment, and incredibly, he's now facing questions about his future. How do you see this playing out?
What a wonderful guy. A wonderful guy, a wonderful manager. I don't sense that he's lost the dressing room. From my perspective, it's up to Jurgen. If Jurgen feels it's time to move on and do something else, to a new challenge, he needs a new challenge, you know, that's up to Jurgen. He would, I think, go with everybody's blessing. If he feels he wants to stay and see it through, then I think that's what the fans would generally like, and I think that would be the right answer.
13 years ago, you sold Liverpool Football Club for £300 million, and here we are now with the club up for sale. The figures of £4 billion being talked about. Just up the road, Manchester United for sale, £6 billion being talked about. Are these realistic figures?
I would be very surprised if Jim Ratcliffe came up with that amount. He'd be keen to buy, but I'd be surprised. There's still a lot of investment you need to make it at Old Trafford on top of that asking price. I think they could both get fancy prices, but not that high.
Obviously, you've been chairman of Liverpool before. You were part of a group that tried to buy Chelsea last year. Would you ever consider launching a bid for Liverpool?
I was interested in seeing if anybody that I already was engaged with was interested, but I haven't taken it any further. I'm not actively out there, trying to recruit possible investors. The people I spoke to were basically overseas billionaires. And really they were ones which had a pad in London, didn't live in London, but had a pad in London, would frequently visit London. Why would they want to buy Manchester United? Why would they want to buy Liverpool? So I think it was, for them, it was very much location. Now,
and yet you can hop up here in half an hour in a plane, can't you?
Yes, you can. But it was interesting that there were several of them, and that was the view. Now, that's not to say there aren't buyers. Jim Ratcliffe at United will clearly be happy with it, and you get rumours of others. It's not to say there aren't buyers, but there is an element that says there's a certain type of buyer that's focused on London.
What a fascinating chat, Mike. Quite a scoop, really. But how rude of these billionaires. They don't realise what they're missing out on. A pad in London. Why would you want that when you get a pad in all the most beautiful parts of the northwest?
Well said, Lucy. It's crazy, isn't it, that they're prepared to spend billions and billions of pounds on a football club, but they're not prepared to jump on a train or a plane to own two of the biggest football clubs on the planet. But his theory perhaps explains why, so far, only one bidder has thrown their hat into the ring for Manchester United, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. That could change in the next couple of days. The deadline for the first round of bids for Manchester United is Friday. We chatted at length about a number of things, all surrounding his time, that 8 months at Liverpool back in 2010. We talked about his new book. He's written his autobiography that is out now. A fascinating story, and you can see it all on our website at itv.com/Granada.
So whenever I hear that song, I can guess what that song is, I think.
I think you can.
Mike, thank you very much indeed. Well, next up, a really exciting discovery by archaeologists. The bones of the earliest ever recorded northerner have been found in a cave near Ulverston.
They're around 11,000 years old and were excavated in an ancient burial chamber deep inside the cave. Tim Scott reports.
11,000 years old. These bone fragments belong to a 2.5-year-old child who was buried in a cave near Ulverston after the end of the last ice age. At first glance, what we have here might just be a pile of, well, old bones, but within these bones is valuable information which can be extracted to tell us stories about this child and their life from 11,000 years ago. The discovery has got archaeologists very excited.
So this is part of the lower jaw.
Dr. Rick Peterson is from the University of Central Lancashire.
So we were expecting them to be early Bronze Age, which is about 4,000 years old. When I got the email before Christmas, the first thing that it said was, you know, this is really old, this is really exciting, because this one that's on the table in front of us here is not 4,000 years old, it's about 11,000 years old. I was just like, right, first of all, I'm going to go down the corridor and talk to my colleagues who will actually understand how exciting this is.
The bones are the oldest human remains ever to have been found in northern Britain. They were discovered by local archaeologist Martin Stables in Heening Wood Bone Cave near Ulverston. The cave comprises a sinkhole and chamber where the child's bones were found alongside more recent human remains from the Bronze Age. With the child's bones was a necklace or bracelet made of periwinkle seashells, each one drilled so they could be threaded.
All of these things give us clues to what's the rite, what's the funeral practice. That's the what are these people like? What do they believe? All these things that's really difficult to get at in archaeology, but it's really exciting when you start to get the evidence for.
It's now hoped that DNA can be extracted from the bones, which will tell us more about the child and the life they lived, and offer another fascinating glimpse into our past. Tim Scott, ITV News, Preston.
Yeah, those archaeologists are much braver than I am. I would not go into a cave, too claustrophobic.
What did they drill those holes, though? Though?
Oh.
Incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
They were a lot cleverer than we thought. Probably a lot cleverer than us. On to the weather. Here's Emma.
Why do I need a shower? I've been out in the rain.
The faster you go, the sooner you'll be out. You'll save water too.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada Weather.
Hello there, hope you're enjoying your evening. Well now, it's been a bit mixed today. We had a bit of a slow start, then some brighter spells moving through, and then some rain and cloud passing. And then it all cleared and we had something to sing about. Lovely photo, that quite joyous there. Thanks, Chris, for capturing that. Thank you as well for this beautiful shot, Lee. Absolutely glorious. And as we move into the next few days, it's all looking a bit less settled. Very windy on Friday, and the Met Office have issued a warning which will affect parts of Cumbria, especially higher ground, gusts of 50 60 miles an hour expected here, and also Transpennine routes, gusts of 70 miles an hour. Now, the thing we're particularly concerned about is that the winds will be coming from the west, so directly perpendicular to any north-south oriented major roads. So if you have to drive a high-sided vehicle, if you're just having to be out and about, do be careful, be aware of that. You can see the tight squeeze on the isobars as we head towards Friday, but then through the weekend pressure starts to build from the south, and so things settling down for the start of next week. But over the weekend, a few fronts just toppling around the northern flank of that high, so there could be some bursts of drizzle or rain at times, but largely it's going to be dry, although less settled, as I say, than just recently. We have a clear slot this evening before the next system pushes west to east across our patch. We're expecting maybe 5 to 10 mils, possibly an isolated 15 millimetres from that system as it moves through, and strong gusts of wind, particularly through the Irish Sea, gusts of 20-30 miles an hour across the Isle of Man, at the coast and over higher ground. But temperatures holding up and much milder than they have been of late. Sun's up tomorrow 7:29. When that system clears out the way, it leaves us with quite a lot of mist and murk. It's going to be sunny in the Isle of Man all day, but mostly pretty grey elsewhere. That's it. Bye-bye.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thinking about Tim's report on caves, you've been potholing.
Oh, one of the worst experiences of my life.
Sounds
I would never want to repeat it. So claustrophobic.
Not for me.
Not for me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.